Hi, I'm Nikki Butler. I am an entrepreneur, I'm a skin and scar specialist, and I am an autistic ADHDer. Now, if you've watched my channel and seen some of my other videos, you will see I talk a lot about skin and scars. But the reason I'm recording a little series of videos on autism and ADHD is partly because the 27th of March to the 2nd of April is World Autism Acceptance Week. I'm not going to go on a rant about why we have a week about accepting those of us with autism, but I think it is an opportunity to start to talk about autism for women and girls and how differently that presents, and also just to invite you to think differently about what autism and ADHD might look like, and that it's very different to the societal stereotypes that we have typically seen in the media. So really it's about helping to raise awareness, to give visibility of what a female autistic woman can look like, and some of the assumptions that are made. So at the time of recording, I'm 47 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD around about a year ago. Now, it has two sides to it. So for me, it was incredibly powerful and enlightening in understanding all of the challenges that I had during my childhood, my teens, into adulthood, the difficulties at school, college, university, work, and everything that it brings with trying to be part of a society that isn't really built for you. Now, the reason that it looks so different in females, it's believed, so I've read so many studies and done so much research, but women and girls from a very young age, females learn to mask and to mimic behaviours that are considered socially acceptable. And lots of the studies that were typically done on autism and ADHD were on boys, and so those traits and that would present very differently. But it's believed that girls have a much deeper desire to be part of society, to be socially accepted. So we'll watch the behaviours of others and mimic them, and so they learn almost to appear what society would call normal. And I've experienced that myself. When I went to preschool, when one of my nieces was little, I remember watching a little girl, and somebody made a comment and said, she's playing so nicely with the other children. And actually what I'd observed was she'd stood by a sandpit, she'd watched the other children for a few minutes, and I could see her like looking up and looking down, and actually she wasn't interacting with the other children at all, but she started to copy what the other children were doing. Bear in mind that this is from the age of about 3, was consciously looking around. To me, how I viewed that was, it seemed like she copied the actions for an acceptable amount of time before she found a book and went off and had a chat with an adult. And there were many other instances like that when the other children were sat around eating their snacks. She didn't want to eat her snacks with them on the floor. She would again go and engage with an adult. But I thought what's really stuck in my mind about that is that's such a young age to be watching and learning what other children are doing and to be able to mimic that. And that certainly resonates with me from my own childhood experiences and my own adult experiences. And for one of the things that many people have said to me since my diagnosis has been, you don't look autistic, or you don't seem autistic, and the same with my ADHD, you don't look like you've got ADHD. And actually I'm going to tell you that's incredibly hurtful and incredibly invalidating. And I absolutely know that that is said from a kind place. It's not said from criticism, but it does feel like criticism, and it can cut like a knife, because I cannot tell you the effort that I have gone to appear normal, to try and fit in, to not be found out. And the consequences that kind of come with that can be immense. So I'll talk about this a little bit more in this mini series, because what I'm going to do is bust some of the myths. So there's lots of myths around what autism looks like, And I really want to try and address some of that in a little mini series. But the reason it is so painful when somebody says you don't look autistic or you don't seem ADHD is because what you don't see is the effort that goes behind trying to appear normal in terms of what society accepts as normal behaviour or behaviours, and then the consequences of that. So the burnout, the fatigue, the emotional overwhelm that then sits behind that is very much hidden from the world. So I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can be and share some of that journey with you. And I'd really invite you to think differently and to have a different perspective. And one of the reasons that this is so important is that in much of the research I've done, there is a really distressing amount of research that shows that the link between females with autism and ADHD have much higher rates and incidence of mental health issues, whether that's anxiety or depression, and really frighteningly much higher rates of suicide. And if you haven't seen it already, I would really invite you to watch Chris Packham's series on the BBC, which is called Inside Our Autistic Minds. And there was a statistic shared on that intelligent autistic women are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide than anyone else, than women that are not autistic. And I thought that's incredible and that's so powerful. And when I heard that hit me like a steamroller, and I felt very emotional. And so raising some of the awareness is taking a lot for me to be vulnerable and be honest with you, especially as people in my close circle have rejected my diagnosis because they don't believe I look autistic. I'm not autistic enough in what fits with their minds. But I really want to start to make a difference, not just for women like me that have been diagnosed later on in life, but also for our younger generation, for the young girls and young women that are growing up and going to an immense amount of effort to appear normal, to mask, to hide, to fit in, but with this incredible feeling of not belonging and not being accepted for who they are. So I hope you find this mini-series helpful. I would love to hear from you. Please reach out. Please feel free to ask me any questions and comment. Please bear in mind this is just my experience. There's a saying that if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. We are all very different. Our experience is very different, and our traits and our triggers are very different. My belief is that as an autistic ADHDer, I have my core traits, the things that are difficult and challenging for me, but they're also impacted by my life experiences, by the environment that I've been in and the things that have happened through my life. And that's the same for everybody. Something that I can deal with today, I might not be able to deal with tomorrow because I'm overwhelmed and burnt out. So please bear that in mind. I really hope you find this helpful, and please reach out if you would like to. You can email me on nikki@nikkibutler.co.uk. Thank you.